My brother inherited everything, while I got nothing from our parents' estate. I stood in that lawyer's office feeling like I'd been erased from the family. Then I found a handwritten note that changed everything. The envelope arrives on a Tuesday afternoon in March. I'm standing in my kitchen in Denver when I see the return address. Morrison and Klein, attorneys at law. My hands shake as I slice through the paper with a butter knife because I can't find scissors. The letter inside is brief, professional, cold. Dear Ms. Allen, we regret to inform you of the passing of your parents, Gerald and Marion Allen. A reading of the will is scheduled for March 19th at 2:00 p.m. Your attendance is requested but not required. Not required. I read those two words 3 times. My parents died in a car accident 4 days ago, and I'm finding out through a lawyer's form letter. My brother didn't call, didn't text, didn't think I deserved to know before the legal paperwork started moving. I sink into the chair by my kitchen table and stare at the gold cross pendant hanging around my neck. My grandmother gave it to me when I was 16. She told me it represented faith, not just in God, but in family. I'm not sure what I believe anymore. I think grief is supposed to feel like sadness, but right now it just feels like paperwork. The days before the reading blur together. I take time off from my job at the medical billing company where I've worked for 7 years. I sit in my apartment and scroll through old photos on my phone. There's one from Christmas 3 years ago. Mom, Dad, my brother Kyle, and me standing in front of their fireplace. We're all smiling. Kyle has his arm around Dad's shoulder. I'm on the edge of the frame, slightly out of focus. I should have seen it then. The law office smells like furniture polish and old carpet. The receptionist offers me coffee in a ceramic mug with the firm's logo printed on the side. I take it even though my stomach is already churning. The mug is warm against my palms. Heavy, real. Kyle arrives 10 minutes late, wearing a charcoal suit I've never seen before. He doesn't look at me when he sits down. The lawyer, Mr. Morrison, is in his mid-60s with silver hair and reading glasses that hang on a chain around his neck. He opens a manila folder and pulls out a stack of papers. The will is 12 pages long. He reads it in a voice that sounds like he's narrating a documentary about tax law. To my son, Kyle Matthew Allen, I leave the family home at 4782 Oak Ridge Drive, Denver, Colorado, valued at approximately $680,000. I also leave him the contents of our joint savings account, currently holding $340,000, as well as both vehicles, the investment portfolio managed by Clearwater Financial, and all personal property contained within the residence. Mr. Morrison pauses to sip water from a glass. I wait for my name. To my daughter, Rebecca Marie Allen, I leave my gratitude for the years she has given us, and the hope that she will understand our decision was made with careful consideration of both our children's needs and circumstances. That's it. No money, no property, no heirlooms, just gratitude and hope. Kyle shifts in his chair but still doesn't look at me. I don't understand, I say. My voice sounds distant, like it's coming from someone else's body. There must be a mistake. Mr. Morrison removes his glasses. I assure you, Ms. Allen, the document is legally sound. Your parents executed this will 18 months ago in the presence of 2 witnesses. It was their final testament. But why? The question comes out louder than I intend. Why would they do this? Kyle finally speaks. They knew I'd take care of the house, keep it in the family. You've always been, he pauses, searching for the right word. Independent. They figured you didn't need it as much as I do. Independent, that's the word he chooses. What he means is, you've always been on the outside. I look at Mr. Morrison. Is there anything I can do? You can contest the will, but I wouldn't recommend it. Your parents were of sound mind when they created this document. You'd be spending money on legal fees with very little chance of success. He slides a business card across the desk. If you'd like a second opinion, I can refer you to a colleague who specializes in estate disputes. The card sits there between us like a tiny white flag of surrender. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part comes 3 days later when I'm going through the box of personal items Kyle dropped off at my apartment. He left it outside my door without knocking. Inside are a few photo albums, my grandmother's recipe cards, and a leather journal my mother kept during my childhood. There's also a note from Kyle on yellow legal pad paper. Rebecca, I know this is hard, but Mom and Dad made their choice. The house needs work and the property taxes are high. I'm the one who'll handle it. You've got your own life. Maybe this is for the best. K. For the best. I sit on my bedroom floor and open my mother's journal. The entries are sporadic, sometimes daily, sometimes months apart. I flip through pages about my first day of school, my piano recitals, the time I won the science fair in 8th grade. Her handwriting is neat and careful, each letter formed with precision. Then I reach an entry from 5 years ago. Rebecca called today. She wanted to know if we could help with her student loans. I told her we'd already helped Kyle with his business expenses and couldn't afford to do both. She said she understood, but I could hear the disappointment in her voice. I worry we're not being fair, but Kyle has always needed more support. Rebecca is strong, she'll figure it out. I close the journal. Strong, independent, code words for you don't get help. That night I dream about the gold cross pendant. In the dream, I'm trying to give it back to my grandmother, but she keeps pushing it toward me. Keep it, she says. You'll need proof. When I wake up, the pendant is tangled in my hair. I think it's trying to tell me something. The next 2 weeks are a study in silence. Kyle doesn't call. Our aunt, my mother's sister, sends a sympathy card with a grocery store gift card inside for $25. A cousin I haven't spoken to in 10 years leaves a voicemail saying she heard about the will and thinks it's complicated. Everyone has opinions, but no one has answers. I go back to work because I can't afford not to. My coworkers offer condolences that feel rehearsed. My manager asks if I'm doing okay, while clearly hoping I'll say yes so we can move on. I process medical claims and try not to think about how my parents valued my brother's future at $680,000 plus savings while valuing mine at gratitude. The math doesn't work. On a Thursday evening in early April, I'm sorting through another box Kyle sent over. This one contains books from my childhood bedroom, a few framed photos, and a shoebox full of old birthday cards. At the bottom, underneath a stack of elementary school report cards, I find a sealed envelope. It's addressed to Rebecca Marie Allen in my father's handwriting. The envelope is thick, legal-sized, the seal is intact. My hands shake as I open it. Inside is a single sheet of paper, a handwritten amendment to my parents' will. The date at the top reads September 14th, 2 months before they died. My father's signature is at the bottom, along with my mother's. There are 2 witness signatures I don't recognize. I read it once, twice, 3 times. We, Gerald and Marion Allen, hereby amend our last will and testament dated September 2023. Upon further reflection, we have determined that our previous distribution was not equitable. We direct that the family home at 4782 Oak Ridge Drive be sold, and the proceeds divided equally between our children, Kyle Matthew Allen and Rebecca Marie Allen. The savings account shall also be divided equally. This amendment supersedes all previous versions of our will and represents our final wishes. The paper trembles in my hands. They changed their minds. They tried to fix it. And then I realize Kyle must have found this first. I don't sleep that night. I sit at my kitchen table with the amendment in front of me, reading it over and over until the words blur. The signature looks authentic. I've seen my father's handwriting 1,000 times. The witness signatures include printed names, David Chen and Margaret Holloway. I don't know these people, but their addresses are listed below their names. At 6:47 a.m., I call the law office. The receptionist tells me Mr. Morrison doesn't arrive until 9. I say I'll wait. At 9:03, I'm sitting in the same chair I sat in 3 weeks ago, except this time I'm not empty-handed. Mr. Morrison's expression shifts when I slide the amendment across his desk. Where did you get this? His voice is careful, controlled. It was in a box of my belongings, hidden under other papers. I watch his face. You didn't know about it, did you? He picks up the document, holds it to the light, examines the signatures. His jaw tightens. Ms. Allen, if this document is authentic, it represents a significant development in the estate proceedings. If, I lean forward, you think I forged it. I didn't say that. He sets the paper down. But you must understand, Probate has already begun based on the September 2023 will. Your brother has taken possession of the house and has started the process of consolidating assets. This amendment, if valid, would require us to reverse those proceedings. Then reverse them. Mr. Morrison removes his glasses and pinches the bridge of his nose. It's not that simple. First, we need to verify the signatures. Then we need to locate the witnesses and confirm they were present when your parents signed this document. Then we need to file a motion with the probate court to introduce new evidence. This could take months. I have months. He looks at me like he's reassessing something. Ms. Allen, I need to be frank with you. Your brother has already incurred expenses related to the property. He's paid property taxes, insurance, utility bills. He's made decisions based on the assumption that the house is his. If this amendment is valid, there will be financial complications. That's his problem. It's everyone's problem. Mr. Morrison leans back in his chair. Estate disputes get messy. Families stop speaking. People spend more on lawyers than they ever recover in assets. Are you prepared for that? I touch the gold cross pendant at my neck. My family already stopped speaking. I'm just trying to get what's mine. He doesn't argue with that. The verification process takes 3 weeks. I hire my own lawyer, a woman named Patricia Reeves who specializes in estate litigation. She's in her early 50s with gray streaks in her dark hair and a direct way of speaking that I appreciate. Her office smells like coffee and printer toner. The signatures look legitimate, Patricia tells me during our first meeting, but we need expert analysis. I'm sending copies to a forensic document examiner. We also need to track down these witnesses. I nod. How much is this going to cost? My retainer is $5,000. The total will depend on how much your brother fights this. She pauses. He will fight it, Rebecca. You understand that, right? He has a lot to lose. I understand. She makes notes on a yellow legal pad. Tell me about your relationship with your brother. I think about how to answer that. We were never close. Growing up, he was the one who needed attention. He struggled in school, had trouble keeping jobs, got into some legal trouble in his 20s. My parents bailaid him out, literally. I was the one who got good grades, paid my own way through college, never asked for help. I thought that made me the responsible one. Then now I think it made me easy to forget. Patricia writes something down. Here's what's going to happen. We file a petition with probate court to admit this amendment as evidence. Your brother will have the opportunity to contest it. He'll probably claim the document is forged, or that your parents were coerced, or that they weren't of sound mind when they signed it. We'll need medical records to prove otherwise. They were fine, healthy. They died in an accident, not from illness. Good, that helps. She taps her pen against the desk. But Rebecca, you need to prepare yourself. Your brother is going to say things about you, about your relationship with your parents. He's going to try to explain why they would have left you out of the original will. It's going to hurt. I've spent 35 years being strong and independent. I can handle hurt. Or at least, that's what I tell myself. The forensic analysis comes back in early May. The document examiner's report is 14 pages long and filled with technical language about ink composition, paper aging, pressure patterns, and signature characteristics. The conclusion is on page 12. Based on comparison with known exemplars of Gerald Allen's and Marion Allen's signatures, it is my professional opinion that the signatures on the disputed amendment are genuine and were executed by the named individuals. No evidence of forgery, alteration, or mechanical reproduction was detected. Patricia calls me the same day the report arrives. We have authentication. Now we find the witnesses. David Chen is harder to locate than Margaret Holloway. Margaret still lives in Denver and works as a paralegal at a small firm downtown. I meet her at a coffee shop near her office on a Wednesday afternoon. She's in her 40s, wearing a navy blazer and carrying a leather briefcase that looks like it's seen better days. I remember your parents, she says after I explain why I'm here. They came into our office in September. They seemed upset about something. Your dad said they needed to fix a mistake. What kind of mistake? He didn't go into detail, just said they'd made a will that didn't reflect their true wishes and they wanted to correct it before it was too late. She stirs sugar into her coffee. They seemed very certain. Your mom kept saying, "We need to make this right." And you witnessed the signing. I did, me and David. He's one of the attorneys at our firm, or he was. He moved to Seattle last year. I write down David Chen's contact information. Would you be willing to testify about this in court? Margaret doesn't hesitate. Yes, I witnessed a legal document. If it needs to be validated, I'll validate it. For the first time in weeks, I feel something that might be hope. David Chen agrees to provide a sworn affidavit from Seattle. Patricia files the motion to admit the amendment to probate court. The court sets a hearing date for June 12th. Kyle's lawyer files a response arguing that the amendment is invalid because it was never filed with the original will, suggesting it was incomplete or abandoned. Patricia's counterargument is simple. The law doesn't require amendments to be filed with the original will. It only requires that they be properly executed and witnessed. This document meets all legal requirements. The night before the hearing, I can't sleep. I pace my apartment, rehearsing what I might say if the judge asks me questions. I think about my parents sitting in that office with Margaret Holloway and David Chen, signing their names on paper, trying to fix what they'd broken. Why didn't they tell me? Why didn't they make sure this amendment reached the lawyer? And then a darker question, did Kyle know about it all along? That's when I realize this might be bigger than I thought. The probate courtroom is smaller than I expected. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Judge Carolyn Brennan, sits behind a raised desk that makes her look like she's floating. Kyle is there with his lawyer, a man in his 40s wearing a suit that probably costs more than my monthly rent. Kyle still won't look at me. Patricia presents our case methodically. She enters the amendment as evidence, along with the forensic report and statements from both witnesses. She explains the timeline: the original will in September 2023, the amendment in September 2024, the accident in November 2024, the reading of the will in March 2025. Your Honor, Patricia says, the Allens clearly intended for their estate to be divided equally between their children. This amendment represents their final wishes, executed just 2 months before their death. The fact that it wasn't discovered until recently doesn't make it any less valid. Kyle's lawyer stands. His name is Richard Feldman, and he speaks like someone who enjoys the sound of his own voice. Your Honor, the timing here is suspicious. This amendment conveniently appears after probate has already begun, hidden in a box that only Ms. Allen had access to. We have no way of knowing if her parents intended for this document to supersede their original will, or if it was simply a draft they ultimately decided not to pursue. Judge Brennan interrupts. Mr. Feldman, are you suggesting the document is forged? I'm suggesting it's questionable. We have forensic authentication and witness testimony. What exactly is questionable? Mr. Feldman shifts his weight. The intent, Your Honor. Mr. and Mrs. Allen had the opportunity to file this amendment with their attorney. They chose not to. That suggests they may have reconsidered. Patricia stands again. Or it suggests they trusted their children to honor their wishes without bureaucratic oversight. They were killed in an accident 2 months later. They didn't have time to follow up. The judge makes notes on a yellow legal pad. I watch her handwriting, trying to decode what she's thinking. After what feels like an hour but is probably only 20 minutes, Judge Brennan sets down her pen. I'm going to order a brief recess while I review the evidence. We'll reconvene in 30 minutes. Those 30 minutes feel like 30 days. Patricia and I sit on a bench in the hallway. Kyle and his lawyer stand at the opposite end, speaking in low voices. I catch fragments of their conversation, phrases like settlement offer and legal fees and not worth it. What are they talking about? I ask Patricia. Probably discussing whether to settle. If the judge rules in our favor, Kyle loses everything. It might be cheaper for him to offer you a deal now. I don't want a deal. I want what my parents intended. She nods, then we wait. When we return to the courtroom, Judge Brennan is already at her desk. She looks at both parties, then down at her notes. I've reviewed the evidence, she begins. The amendment presented by Ms. Allen appears to be authentic. The signatures have been verified by a qualified expert, and 2 witnesses have confirmed they were present when the document was executed. Mr. Feldman, your argument about intent is speculative at best. The law recognizes properly executed amendments regardless of whether they were filed with the original will. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat. However, Judge Brennan continues, I am troubled by one aspect of this case that hasn't been adequately addressed. Here it comes, the part where she finds a reason to deny it. Mr. Morrison, Judge Brennan says, looking toward the back of the courtroom where my parents' original lawyer is sitting. You were the attorney who drafted the original will for the Allens. Did you have any knowledge of this amendment? Mr. Morrison stands slowly, too slowly. Your Honor, I was not aware of any amendment until Ms. Allen brought it to my attention last month. That's interesting, the judge says, because I've reviewed the file. The amendment references your firm by name. It states, and I quote, "This amendment shall be filed with Morrison and Klein, attorneys at law, to be kept with the original will." Patricia's hand finds mine under the table. She squeezes once. Mr. Morrison, Judge Brennan continues, if the Allens intended for this document to be filed with your firm, and they executed it with proper witnesses, why wasn't it in your files? Mr. Morrison's face has gone pale. I can only assume they changed their minds about filing it. Or, the judge says, her voice sharpening, someone prevented it from being filed. The courtroom goes silent. Your Honor, Mr. Morrison says carefully, I resent the implication. I'm not implying anything, Mr. Morrison. I'm stating a concern. This amendment would have significantly altered the distribution of the estate. It would have reduced the complexity of your firm's work and reduced your fees. Might it have been in your financial interest for this document to remain undiscovered? Patricia's grip on my hand tightens. This is the twist I didn't see coming. Mr. Feldman stands. Your Honor, are you suggesting Mr. Morrison withheld evidence? I'm suggesting it's a question that needs to be answered. Judge Brennan looks at Mr. Morrison. I'm ordering a full investigation into your firm's handling of this estate. If it's determined that this amendment was in your possession and you failed to disclose it, there will be serious consequences, both civil and criminal. Mr. Morrison sits down heavily. The hearing ends with Judge Brennan ruling in my favor. The amendment is admitted to probate. The estate will be redistributed according to its terms. Kyle will need to return the house and half the savings to the estate so it can be properly divided. But the bigger story is just beginning. And I'm not sure I'm ready for what comes next. The investigation into Morrison and Klein takes 6 weeks. During that time, Patricia receives a call from a paralegal who used to work at the firm. Her name is Jessica Torres, and she has information. We meet her at the same coffee shop where I met Margaret Holloway. Jessica is in her 30s, nervous, glancing at the door like she's afraid someone followed her. I don't want my name in the papers, she says immediately. We'll do our best to protect you, Patricia assures her. Tell us what you know. Jessica orders a tea she doesn't drink. I worked at Morrison and Klein for 3 years. I left last month because I couldn't be part of it anymore. Part of what? The way they handled certain estates. If a will was straightforward and all the heirs were cooperative, everything was fine. But if there was ambiguity, or if documents came in that might complicate things, Mr. Morrison would, she pauses, searching for the right word, lose them. My stomach drops. He would hide documents, Patricia asks. Not exactly hide, just not file them right away. He'd keep them in a separate drawer and only bring them up if someone specifically asked. If no one asked, they stayed there. It meant more work for the firm, more billable hours, more fees from the estate. How many times did this happen? Jessica looks down at her tea. I don't know exactly. I noticed it maybe 4 or 5 times in the years I worked there, but I was just a paralegal. I didn't have access to everything. Did you see the Allen Amendment? She nods. It came in by mail in late September. Your parents sent it with a cover letter asking Mr. Morrison to attach it to their will. I remember because your father called to confirm we received it. Mr. Morrison told him yes, it was filed. But when I went to put it in the file, Mr. Morrison stopped me. He said he needed to review it first. I never saw it again. Patricia writes frantically in her notebook. Do you still have the cover letter? No, but I remember what it said. Your father wrote that they'd been troubled by their decision to give everything to Kyle. He said they realized it wasn't fair, and they wanted to correct it before it was too late. He thanked Mr. Morrison for his years of service and asked him to make sure the amendment was properly filed. I feel like I'm going to be sick. Mr. Morrison received the amendment. He acknowledged receiving it. He promised to file it. And then he buried it so he could collect larger fees from the estate. Why did you leave the firm? Patricia asks. Because I couldn't sleep at night anymore. Jessica finally looks up. I kept thinking about the families he was hurting, the people who were being cheated out of inheritances because documents were conveniently misplaced. I wanted to report him, but I was afraid I'd lose my job and my reputation. When I heard about your case, I realized I couldn't stay silent anymore. Jessica Torres becomes our star witness. The Colorado Bar Association opens a formal investigation. The local news picks up the story. Prominent estate attorney under investigation for document suppression. Mr. Morrison issues a statement denying all wrongdoing, but his law partner quietly asks him to take a leave of absence. Kyle calls me for the first time in 4 months. Rebecca, we need to talk. His voice sounds strained, tired. I have a lawyer, I tell him, talk to her. Please, just 5 minutes. I agree to meet him at a park near our parents' house. It's late July now, hot and dry, the kind of Denver summer day that makes you remember why people moved here before air conditioning existed. Kyle is sitting on a bench near the playground when I arrive. He's lost weight. His suit doesn't fit right anymore. I didn't know, he says before I can sit down. About the amendment, I swear I didn't know. I study his face, looking for lies. Morrison didn't tell you. He said the will was final. He said Mom and Dad were clear about their wishes. I believed him. You didn't question why they'd leave me out completely. Kyle looks at his hands. I told myself they knew I needed it more, that you were doing fine without them. I didn't want to look too closely because looking meant I might see something I didn't want to see. That's convenient. I know how it sounds. He rubs his eyes. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just trying to explain. I was selfish. I saw what I wanted to see. What do you want, Kyle? I want to settle this without more lawyers. The house is going on the market next month. When it sells, you'll get your half. The savings account has already been divided. Your portion is in escrow. I'm not fighting anymore. Why the change of heart? He laughs, but there's no humor in it. Because I finally read the amendment, really read it. Mom and Dad wrote that they'd made a mistake, that they'd let guilt and habit guide their decisions instead of fairness. They said they were sorry. His voice cracks. They never said they were sorry to me. They gave me everything and never apologized for it, but they were going to apologize to you, and then they died before they could. I don't know what to say to that. We sit in silence, watching kids play on the swings. I'm sorry, Kyle says finally. For all of it, for not questioning things, for not calling you after they died, for being the kind of brother who made our parents feel like they had to choose. It's not enough, but it's something. The house sells in August for $695,000. After real estate fees and closing costs, the net proceeds are $652,000. My half comes to $326,000. Combined with my portion of the savings account, I receive a total of $496,000 from my parents' estate. It's not about the money, but the money makes a difference. I pay off my student loans, $47,000 that I've been chipping away at for 13 years. I put a down payment on a small condo in a neighborhood I actually like. I donate $10,000 to a legal aid organization that helps people navigate estate disputes. The rest goes into savings. Mr. Morrison's license is suspended for 2 years. He's required to pay restitution to 4 other families whose estates were affected by his document suppression. The state bar publishes a formal reprimand. His law partner dissolves the firm. Patricia sends me a final bill and a handwritten note. You were right to fight. Most people don't. I frame the note and hang it in my new condo. In September, almost exactly a year after my parents signed the amendment, I receive a package in the mail. It's from Kyle. Inside is a photo album I've never seen before, pictures from our childhood that Mom kept in her closet. There's a note tucked in the front. Found this while cleaning out the house? Thought you should have it. Some of these are really good. K. The photos are candid shots. Me at 7 years old building a snowman, me at 12 reading on the porch, me at 16 wearing the gold cross pendant my grandmother had just given me. In that last photo, I'm smiling at something off camera. I look happy, certain of my place in the world. I wonder when I lost that certainty. Or maybe I didn't lose it. Maybe I just put it away to keep it safe. Because that's what you do when you're strong and independent. On a Thursday evening in late September, I drive to the cemetery where my parents are buried. I haven't been here since the funeral. The headstone is simple granite with both their names and the dates. Someone has left flowers, probably Kyle. I sit on the grass and pull out the copy of the amendment I keep in my purse. I've read it so many times the paper is soft at the creases. You tried, I say out loud. That counts for something. The wind picks up, carrying the smell of cut grass and distant rain. I touch the gold cross pendant at my neck, the one my grandmother gave me, the one that's been with me through all of this. I used to think it represented faith in family. Now I understand it differently. It's not about faith in other people. It's about faith in yourself, in your right to take up space, in your worth beyond what others assign to you. My parents made a mistake. They tried to fix it. They died before they could make sure I knew. But I found out anyway. And I fought for what was mine. Not because I needed the money, though the money helped, but because I needed to know that my place in the family was real, that I mattered beyond being strong and independent and easy to forget. The amendment proved that. So did I. I don't visit Kyle and he doesn't visit me. We exchange occasional texts, happy birthday wishes, holiday greetings, the kind of minimal contact that acknowledges shared history without requiring intimacy. Maybe someday that will change, maybe it won't. I'm okay with either outcome. On a Sunday morning in October, I'm having coffee in my new condo when I get a message from Jessica Torres. We've stayed in touch since the investigation ended. She found a new job at a legal aid clinic and seems happier. Saw your case mentioned in a bar association newsletter. They're using it as a teaching example about fiduciary duty. Thought you'd want to know. I smile and type back, good, maybe it'll help someone else. The truth is, I don't think about the will every day anymore. I don't rehearse conversations with my parents or imagine different outcomes. The anger has faded into something quieter, not forgiveness exactly, but acceptance. They were human, they made mistakes, they tried to fix them. Sometimes that's all you get. I finish my coffee and get ready for the day. I'm meeting a friend for brunch, then heading to a gallery opening downtown. My calendar is full in a way it never was before, not because I have more time, but because I've stopped waiting for permission to build a life that feels like mine. The gold cross pendant catches the light as I clasp it around my neck. My grandmother told me it represented faith, and she was right. Just not the kind of faith I expected. Not faith that family will always protect you, or that parents will always be fair, or that lawyers will always be honest. But faith that you can stand in a courtroom and demand what you're owed. Faith that documents hidden in shoeboxes can change everything. Faith that strength isn't about never needing anything. It's about knowing what you deserve and refusing to accept less. I lock my door and head out into the October morning. The air smells like wood smoke and possibility. The mountains are visible in the distance, sharp and clear against the blue sky. I don't know what my parents would think of who I've become. I don't need to. They didn't understand the strength they built by overlooking me. Every time they chose Kyle's crisis over my stability, they taught me to survive without them. Every time they praised my independence, they showed me I didn't need their approval. I know who I am now. And that's enough.